Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Judge Finn Show. We're so glad you've been joining us here, and we appreciate you stopping by each and every time. Let us know how we're doing. Would you do that, please? Every time you come by, just drop a comment and let me know if you agree, disagree. I'm really anxious to hear what you think about it. And share this with your friends, please, by all means. We want the word to get around that we're having a meaningful discussion here. All right? So I want to get started. A young American by the name of Charlie Kirk, age 31, I believe, was murdered in plain sight in front of a big audience in Utah. And the shooter is allegedly, and I have to say this, folks, and I'll tell you why, allegedly a 21-year-old named Tyler Robinson, or 22, I believe. Folks, I listen to the news and I go to YouTube, I go to television, I go all around because I like to get different sources. I've been trying to talk to you about that so that we stay well informed and we're not listening to garbage. And I was a little bit disappointed with what I saw. This is a young man who is gone. Let me say condolences to his family. Let us give these people time to bury their dead. Already there's all kinds of crap going on, and I'm just baffled as to why we have to behave this way. This is a young man who was controversial. I get it. I didn't like a lot of what he had to say. I didn't agree with him on separation of church and state. He thought that church and state should be together. I thought the Constitution was correct. They should be apart. And just the things about, the comments about the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and immigrants, and all the touch words and conversations that get us going at each other's throats. I didn't agree with it. I wouldn't shoot him. Why does he have to be dead? This is what troubles me about this. We live in the United States of America, who we have touted to the world for as long as they would listen, that what's so good about this grand old experiment is that you're free to say what you want and nobody's going to come and lock you up. Or you're free to say what you want, assuming it's not threatening and illegal. But to have an opinion, you're free to do that. And nobody's going to come and shoot you. But today, this is baffling as to why we're so ugly to each other. That man had every right to say whatever he wanted. And I absolutely will repeat, I disagree with 90% of it. But why is he dead? That's not called for. And so that's one of the things that we're going to have to get a hold of in America. And this eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth is only going to give us a blind and toothless nation. That's what we're going to have. It doesn't change anything. Violence begets violence. And that's why we have law. But all we want to talk about are things that are going to get people going, all the little catchphrases, law and order. And I've told you, we got a president who doesn't help, calling people's countries asshole countries that happen to all be of one group of people. And all the stuff that's going on is divisive. And it keeps us at each other's throats. And those of you who've been with me, that's why I want you to keep coming back, because this is an ongoing discussion. And I've said things before that I'd love for you to go back and listen to, because I've talked about the matrix. And that's what this is. It's the worst part of the matrix. Every time something goes wrong, we go to the old playbook. Let's grab each other by the throat and let's start passing blame. I heard on the news that someone has threatened one of the colleges in the South, the traditional black colleges. For what? Why are you threatening them? It's just ugliness. No rhyme, no reason. It's pure insanity. And we continue to do this every time something goes wrong. We go right back to the old playbooks. Everybody goes to their tribe. We start pointing fingers. So I'm going to tell you who's responsible for this. And then I'm going to tell you why we should let young Mr. Tyler Robinson have his day in court. Okay? So the first thing we need to understand about this is we have a system of justice that says you're innocent until proven guilty. Nobody's giving this kid a chance to even put in a plea. The governor's up there. We got him. You got who? Basically saying we got the one who did it. Well, that's your opinion. That has no legal significance. He's innocent until proven guilty. I know you hate what you think he did, but he hasn't been proven to have done anything. I don't care if he confessed. We have a system that works this way for a reason. I want you to do something that we don't often do right now for me. I want you to walk in somebody else's shoes and think of what you'd want for your son or your daughter if they were standing in the shoes of a person who's accused of a horrific crime. And the people who are supposed to make the system work are already putting out opinions. I saw the FBI director Patel standing there saying, my friend Charlie, I know, and we're... That's personal. Can't you be professional about this? You did your job. You brought someone in, and they are accused of committing this crime. And so they're going to be arraigned, and they may get some type of felony hearing, and then they're going to get a trial unless they do a plea bargain and decide not to have a trial. They're entitled to have a jury of their peers determine their guilt. Can we let that happen the way you'd want it to happen for your family? Can we do that? And here's the next thing I want to talk about. We've gone way, way, way too far with this idea that when we don't like what someone says, it's okay to behave badly. Even short of killing them, we murder their reputation. We call them ugly names. We talk about their appearance. We do anything we can to shame them. Why? Why is that necessary? That makes us very small people. Don't do that. Don't tear people down to build yourself up. Don't do that. What I'm asking everybody to do is just be patient and let the system work. He's going to get a trial, and there'll be a determination of his guilt or innocence, or he'll plead, and it'll be the equivalent of having a jury having had decided his guilt or innocence. And so let's wait for that. Let's try that for a minute and calm down and not start running around like we're nuts every time someone gets shot. Columbine, how many kids have been murdered in their schools? How many people have been murdered while they're praying to their God? When is it going to stop? It's hateful. And I'm going to tell you who's responsible. Everybody. We're all responsible. And the reason we're responsible is because we tolerate this bullshit. Every time it happens, we start the political stuff, and I'm going this way, and I'm talking on this side, and the lamestream media, and the bad Democrats, and the no good Republicans, and the Magites, and the whatever. Stop it. It's time America grows up and lives out her creed. Okay? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. It was said a long time ago. Oops, left out a few people. Come on now. It's time for us to grow up and start caring about what happens to each other and making this the country we say it is. Because while we're doing this crap, there are people plotting all over the world. It looks like the giant's getting ready to fall. Leadership, iffy. They're still killing each other. They can't come to terms with the guns, the hatred, the racism, the sexism, the this and the that one. Come on, folks. We have so much that we could be doing. This country has enough for everybody. So why do we never get there? Could you ask yourself that instead of hating me? Could you ask yourself, how come we just never get there? Could we think about that for a minute? Because somebody's pulling the little puppet strings, and when they get ready, I actually wondered when that man was, God forgive me, but I actually wondered who really killed him. I really did. It crossed my mind. I said, I don't know, who had, did someone have him killed? so they could blame it on somebody else? I even thought about that. That's how crazy we've gotten here. It makes me wonder. So when you go and start threatening the the traditional black colleges down there, they had absolutely nothing to do with this. It makes me say, no, wait a minute, what's going on here? Are we that nuts? Or is somebody really trying to stir the pot? I have to wonder. I know that people outside of this country are stirring the pot. It's already been on the news. The Chinese, I'm sure they jumped right in and started their bots going. And the Russians, I'm sure their bots are out there pretending to be black, pretending to be white, pretending to be whatever, and talking trash to each other. And then the rest of us are dumb enough to jump in and start doing it too. Stop it. You're being used and abused. They take you for an idiot. And I'm here to tell you, no, this is not what we're doing. Okay, if you want to come here, please come here. Please listen. And please bring your thoughts, your ideas. Am I crazy? Tell me. Put a comment down there. Say, Judge, you're nuts. It won't matter to me. I'm not going to get offended. I want to hear what you have to say. Okay? And I'm going to say what I have to say. So, and I'm not going to call you names. And I'm not going to allow you to call me names. We're going to be respectful here. But come and talk to me and let me know if I'm off base. Am I misreading America? Have we lost everything? Are we a new type of people? I need to know. I need to know for the young people who are looking at this and wondering what the hell is going on. I've been here 75 years. I've seen insanity before. I was talking to my young sound man this morning, very intelligent young guy. And he's seen 5 or 6 murders, and he's only 25 years old. That was so sad to hear him say that. He should never had to have grown up with that. Well, guess how much I've seen in 75 years? We can go on back. We can go on back to JFK when I was 13. And we can go to Martin Luther King, who was killed on my mother's birthday. And we can go to Bobby. And we can go to Reagan being shot. And the man who was with him who was horribly crippled and died early. Okay? And many others. I mentioned earlier Columbine, and there have been so many more shootings. And the people in the church in South Carolina who were shot and killed while they were praying to God. Because somebody's insane and so self-loathing that they got to find somebody else to murder because they're already dead inside. Come on, people. We got to do better than this. You know, one thing about Charlie, and I told you I didn't agree with his philosophy, but there's one thing he did that I liked. He would always say, come talk to me. If you disagree with me, come see me. And let's have a reasonable dialogue. No need for violence. He said that. I understand that that's a perfect way to do things. That's the American way. It actually is. I've heard people say plenty of things that I thought were ridiculous. I've seen the Ku Klux Klan march. And I will defend their right to march, even though they want me gone. Why would I defend their right to march? Because that's what America is supposed to do. That's part of the grand old experiment. We let people express their thoughts. We let people let us know what they're thinking. We don't say, shut up or we're going to come and lock you up, until recently. I've heard some of that from our president, kind of like, shut up. No, that's not the way we want to live. And so you can't allow this kind of thing to happen and just say, well, he shouldn't have been saying this and he should that. No, that's not good. You have to understand he has a right to say. He had a right. He's gone. He had a right to say anything he wanted, as long as it wasn't threatening people, it wasn't criminal, that kind of thing. He had a right to express his opinion without somebody putting on the bullet. This bullet's for you. That kind of thing. Come on, man. Listen, everybody. Do me a favor, please. Come and have a discussion. Let's talk about what the next steps need to be. What do we need to do to make a better nation? What do we need to do to show each other a little more love? I'm sorry, but I just came from that. I told you, many of you who tuned in from the beginning, and I hope you'll tell your friends and your family to come tune in too. I talked about my family, how they built a church in a small town in the Catskills in 1939. And what they taught me was love. They did. My mother was big on kindness. She really was. I'm getting a little choked up. I don't understand why we keep falling for the hate. I don't. It serves nobody. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve our children who are coming along, who are watching this behavior. They have no idea why, some of these kids have no idea why we hate each other like this. They have no clue as to what's going on in the world. They're baffled. And so I'm asking you to come here and have a discussion, and let's talk about what we can do to live out that creed that America claimed for all of my life that we have. Okay? That all men are created equal. That we want freedom of speech. That we want freedom of religion. That we don't want our government mixed in with various religions. We don't want a king. We don't want that. We want freedom. Well, you know how you get freedom? You have to be vigilant, or you lose it all. So I'm asking you, if you disagree or you agree, come and tell me why. Come and tell me what we can do to come to the understanding that we can all rise together. We don't have to kick anybody down to rise up. I don't have to step on you to get to the next level. I don't have to put you down to feel like I'm a genius. I simply need to have a discourse with you. And so I'm inviting you to do that here at the Judge Finn Show. Come and talk to me about what we can do to fix this, because it's out of control. So put your comments in the box. Subscribe. Please subscribe. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep talking to you. I want to keep listening to you. I want to see it get better. Tell your friends. That's the next thing you can do. Share. Let people know that we're out here talking some real sense, and that we're not out here hating people. You know, the biggest part of the Constitution that I love is the part that talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That gives me joy. That's the peace for me, because that is the widest piece there. Due process, I love. It's so nice. They named it twice in the Constitution. It's almost like New York City, right? It's twice in the Constitution, due process. The 5th and the 14th Amendment both talk about due process. Why is that important? It's important for the states to get it. And it's important for the federal side to have it. That's how important it is. And that's part of what, by the way, this young man is going to have to get. You got to give him due process. He's got to be able to tell his story to the jury or to the judge, whoever he chooses. He has a choice, jury or judge. In his case, I don't know. I might pick the judge. A jury's going to be an impartial jury in this case. That's going to be tough. It is, because people are emotional. And so I want us to put the emotion aside here and come in and have an intelligent conversation. Come in and put in questions. Put in comments that you would like answers to, real answers, not judgment. The only judge here is me. And there's no room for any more on this show. So please don't come with the judgment. Come with common sense. And common sense is not so common anymore. Why is it so easy to be anonymous and be rude and crude and mean? That's a coward. Don't Don't allow people to do that. This idea these days that people feel free to say horrible things about other people and then hide behind the keyboard. I don't know anything about that. I grew up in a small town. If you said something about me, you had to either call me and say it, and I could get to your house in 5 minutes and say it to my face, and I've done it. Say that to my face. He said, say it. This kid, Charlie Kirk, said, say it to my face. And I get that. And I would have said it to his face. I never would have shot him. That's the point. What are we doing? You can tell me how you feel without being rude. You can tell me how you feel without killing me. You didn't give me life. You have no right to take it. And here's the sad part about it. This is a kid. He's 22 years old, and his life is over for all intents and purposes if he's found guilty. Somebody said they have the death penalty in Utah. I haven't looked. But if they do, I don't believe in the death penalty. I'm sorry. I don't. Life imprisonment without possibility of parole as far as I'm going. Because I've seen too many instances of people who have lost their life and were innocent. Tell me how you're going to bring them back. Tell me how you're going to bring them back. So that's why I'm asking you to come and join us. Come in peace. I'm tired of the bullshit. Come here, have a wonderful conversation with it. If you don't like what I'm doing here, I'm good with it. Just keep it moving. But don't bring it in my house. I'm telling you, I intend to keep order here like I did in the courtroom. Because we cannot have a civil conversation. We cannot get anything done if people are going to be rude and egregious. And so I can't do that. But I welcome what you have to say. I've always given people a chance to say what they want to say to me. Let me know what it is they need for me to hear. But it can't be judgment, calling names and all that kind of stuff. No, that doesn't get us anything. So come on. Come and join me and talk to me and let me know what you're thinking. And let me know, am I outdated? I told you I'm 75 years old. Is kindness gone? Should I forget about it? Because I'm not. I will be kind until the day I die. I've been told, because I don't spend a lot of time for that reason online. I'm going to tell you, and I own Meta stock. I have a Facebook account. I'm not there very much. And the reason is people are too nasty for me. They say too much crap. I don't want my peace interfered with all that garbage. And I'm finding that people feel free to say stuff that they never say to your face. And now we have avatars. People can put on personalities and they can come on and just treat you like crap. And then you could be sitting next to them on the job the next day and they could be the nicest person in the world. That's crazy, folks. Why are we doing that? Why can't we just be honest with each other? Just be honest. I think what's happening is people don't know what to say. They're scared. They're alone. Let me tell you what happens when you have confidence in yourself. When you have confidence in yourself, you don't have to call other people names. You don't have to put other people down. You lift other people up. I know because I've done it my whole life. I have tried to lift other people up. Have I been mean in my life to somebody? Probably at some point as a kid or something. I did something I shouldn't have done. I guess so. But I learned better if that were the case, because I don't believe in that. I finally sided with my mother, even with forgiveness. I had a problem with forgiveness at one time in my life. When you did horrible things to people I loved, I found it hard to forgive you. And my mother called me up one day, and I told you my mother's a preacher. And I was home, and the phone rang, and it was my mother. And she said, "Josephine, I want you to come over." And I said, "Oh, you need something?" She said, "No, I want to talk to you." I heard that, and I thought, ooh, what did I do? So I went over, and she said, I want to talk to you about forgiveness. I said, you want to talk to me about forgiveness? She said, yes. I find you to be a little unforgiving. I said, really? She said, yes. She said, I notice when people have done things to me or your family or whatever, you say, I'll never forgive them. She said, I hate to hear you say that. And of course, when I said it, I meant it. I had every intention of never forgiving them because I don't like the idea of you messing with people when they're not messing with you. I don't like that. Never have. But I started to listen to her, and she was really concerned. And I'm thinking to myself, why is she so concerned? And then I realized my mother's a spiritual person. This is important to her, that I not walk around mad with people. I thought it over. And I started to change. I started to, when something got to me and I was ready to pounce, they did that out of ignorance. Or they knew better, they do better. After a while, I started forgiving people because I realized that's a burden to do things to people that you shouldn't be doing, being mean to people, lying on people, the things that got me upset. That's a burden they're carrying. Why would I want to carry it with them? And so I gave it up and I became more forgiving. Well, that was before I was a judge. Can you imagine if I had taken the bench with that attitude of no forgiveness? Can you imagine what that would have been like? So everything happens for a reason. We all have an imprint already when we come in this world, I believe, and there's a blueprint for us to follow spiritually. And so that was part of my path, learning to forgive and then becoming a judge. It had to happen before I became the judge, I believe. Okay? So I just need you to walk a little easier on the earth. Have a little patience with each other. And understand you're not perfect. You've made mistakes. And all those who are being so harsh and judgmental before they get the facts, stop. That's the one thing we don't do in the legal profession. We wait until all the evidence is in. And I have a hard time with lay people sometimes because they'll run up to me, my family, friends. You heard what he did? I say, how you know he did it? What are you talking about? He's accused. So let's just not do, what Johnny Cochran said so many years ago. Let's not rush to judgment. Let's wait and see how it plays out. You have to understand, first of all, that man's law is built on God's law, in the United States at least. And if I look at other countries, I find it too. They really have patterned it after, the religious doctrines. If you look at murder, stealing, if you look at the Ten Commandments, and all that it talks about, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. All that's in the law. It came from somewhere. If I looked, when I went to law school, having grown up in the church and been taught, the theology way, or the theological way, I should say. Ecclesiastical. It's coming back to me now because I told you I'm not religious. I believe in the spirit that resides within me, that it's connected to something that's honorable and good and that's light. And that's how I try to treat others. I once taught a course, and one of the things I said while I was teaching them was that as far as I was concerned, you could throw out 9 of the 10 commandments. You need one, and it's the one I try to live by, and that is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And the reason that I wanted that kept and let the others go is because if you live that one, you won't covet your neighbor's wife, you won't murder your neighbor, you won't steal. So I attached myself to that one. And people were walking out, they said, oh, we loved it, it was great, and they're walking out talking, and the bishop heard them say that I had thrown out 9 of the 10 commandments. And he walked up to me and he said, am I to understand that you threw out 9 of the 10 commandments? And I just looked at this guy and I was like, well, yeah, I did. I'm sorry, Bishop, but I feel like if you live that one, you won't have to worry about the rest. And I kind of try to live my life that way. I don't want to treat you in a way that I wouldn't want you to treat me. What is so hard about that? Trespassing the law has to do with property rights. We got our system from the British. And the king was the all out grand poobah. Everything is owned by the king. And for that reason, if you did anything wrong, like not paying your taxes or whatever, your stuff escheated. The word is escheat. It escheated back to the king, returned back to the king. We have the same thing today. Try not paying your property taxes and see where it goes. You see the similarity? It goes back to the government. So we have a kind of a loose form where we have a guy in charge and we have the 2 houses. They have the House of Lords, we have the Senate, and they have the House of Commons, and we have the House of Representatives. And so we kind of loosely patterned our law after a lot of the country that the United States, many of the people who formed the government came from England. Having said that, one of the things they were big on with property rights, because property, I hated that in law school. It's so convoluted. Trespass was a big deal. Trespass, going where you should not be. And so think about that in church terms. Trespass against thee. Doing what I should not do. Treating you like I should not have treated you. So yes, they're similar. It's being on ground that you shouldn't be on, whether it's spiritual ground or physical ground. That's what trespass means. Okay? And it's a real I don't want to get into property law and how convoluted it is, but the bottom line is it has to do with doing something you shouldn't have done, being somewhere you should not be. It's not yours. So to trespass against me, like they said, don't covet another man's wife, you can understand that, particularly way back in those times, what that meant to a man and what that meant to a woman to have a husband or someone to protect her. And for you to go and trespass and take that or abuse that, misuse that, sure, that's trespass. You've done something you shouldn't have done. It wasn't yours. You had no right to it. Why are you there? The first prayer that my mother taught me was the Lord's Prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. What that prayer really is talking about is nobody is perfect. We forgive those who you forgive us our trespasses, just as we forgive those who trespass against us. It shows an acknowledgement that none of us are perfect. It shows an acknowledgement that we know we can get off course. Trespass. But forgive us. There goes the forgiveness. You see? And so I now understand why my mother was so concerned that I was unforgiving, because she knew at some point in my life I would need forgiveness. You're going to need forgiveness at some point in your life. Stop being so unforgiving of other people. And what happens when it comes to your door? What happens when that's your 22-year-old who's in trouble? So I have a friend who says, my mother always said, I don't talk about other people's kids. Why? Because I don't know what my kids may get into, and I'm going to want someone to have some compassion for them. I'll tell you a true story. They're all true. I wouldn't lie to you, so I don't know why I say that. But I'm going to tell you, this happened. This is not, fiction. When I say that, that's all I mean. Is it's not a story I wrote, because I do write stories too. I lived on a small street in Monticello. My mother bought a home that she was able to get. She fought in the village for everybody be able to get a home who didn't have a lot of money to buy a home. And there were grants going around at that time, and the government was going to help build something in this community. And she wanted single family houses, and she fought until she got them. So hers was the first one they built. And other people, then their houses came into the street. And one of the ladies who lived across the street broke up with her husband, and she began to have a relationship with a man who lived up the street, and her husband had left the home. So he's coming over there to see her. His wife is still up the street. Her husband's living somewhere else. That was a bad situation. And one day a shot rang out. And my mother's looking. She always watched the neighborhood. And she's looking, and she sees the woman jump out of the window and come running toward her house. And she sees the guy come with the gun behind her husband. He had gone in there, shot the guy. He lived, thank God. He shot him in the hip. And he was after her. And she got out of the window. She's running from my mother's house. And my mother sees her and opens the door and lets her in. Fortunately, the guy's sister said, let it go. Don't go over to Mrs. Finn's house, because she has 2 daughters, and I don't think you want to face them if you do anything to her. And she was absolutely right. So when it was all settled and cops, came and everything got settled, and my mother, comforted her and kept her there until she knew she was safe. And my sister comes home and finds out about this, and she went to my mother and she said, oh my God, Mother, what were you thinking? To throw the door open and he had a gun. My mother said, I was thinking that if that had been you or Josephine, I would have wanted someone to do the same thing for you. That's what I was thinking. Do you understand? I'm talking about that kind of care. Not the kind of thing that says, I'm slamming my door because I don't want him coming here with that gun. She didn't even think about it. She thought if that was my child running, I'd want somebody to help her. That's the kind of community I'm talking about that we need to get back to. We need to get back to a place where we're not so busy hating each other that we don't even remember why we started hating each other. And that's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? What is your take on this whole thing of where we are in the United States today? I need for you to put something in the comments. I need to talk about this. Tell me how you feel. Where did we go wrong? How did we get off the track? Or do you think it's fine? Talk to me. Share with your family. I need their comments. Tell everybody you know, come and talk to us. One of the things I want to see come out of this is I want you to understand that you have the ability, you have the capacity to love or hate. It's up to you. You see what hate got you. What's love going to get you? The opposite. Cooperation. Think about the people you love and how you treat them. Okay? If you truly love someone, you care about how they feel. You want them to be well. And so all I'm saying to us as a nation is we could do something so beautiful here that you think you were the envy of the world. Forget it. This is nothing like what we've had before. I'm talking miles above that, where we actually start having a serious dialogue. I think that that's a piece of what Charlie came here to tell us. Let's go back to for a minute to 9/11. That was a big tragedy, and this has had that kind of effect. But one thing we have to understand when we have tragedies, it's always about something bigger than the one incident. It's bigger than the World Trade Center. It was bigger. There were thousands of lives lost. That was horrible just to think about. But it was bigger than that. Why did it happen? And how did we come together in answer to what happened? We started caring about each other. We started talking to each other. We started building back. We started looking for the dead and comforting each other. And that is what you have to do when something happens that could be so tragic. There has to be some good that comes out of it. And it's a yin-yang universe, people. There's night and day. There's up and down. There's in and out. Haven't you noticed the sun never rises at night? It rises in the daytime. It sets in the evening and the moon comes out. You know, I'm just saying there's a rhyme and rhythm to the universe. And what we can do is use that here and flow together and start to comfort each other and start to understand that we've let our nation go. And it's time for us to get back to basics. What do we stand for? What do we want for our lives? What kind of freedom? And that's, don't forget, we are the United States of America. They built this that way for a reason. And they expected us to take care of it. Not happening. This could be very detrimental to us all. In closing, I really want to talk about or leave you with what brought me along, what helped me. And I've said this before and I'm going to continue to say it. You've got to take time to figure out who you are. What makes people afraid is they don't know who they are. They're young. Let's start with the young people. You've been here 20 years. I've been here 75. Who you think has the thicker skin, me or you? I do. Why? Think about the first thing that ever really hurt. I could think about, falling in love and your heart gets broken and it hurts like hell when your heart gets broken. And then the next time something happens, you get in another relationship, it doesn't hurt quite as bad. And it never does again. There's no heartbreak like the first one. And the first heartbreak you've had with America is that we don't live. Let me put it this. How do I put this? We don't live up to what we say. We talk a good game in America. We say you have all these freedoms. We say, we're the greatest country in the world. No, you can't be the greatest country in the world with all this hate. You can't. And people are just waiting for you to crumble. I don't plan to crumble, folks. I plan to be the same person I've been all along. I plan to do unto others as I would have them do unto me. I plan to love you because you're worthy of it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your problems are. There has to be some kind of universal love. Does it mean I'm going along with what you're doing? No. Does it mean I have to like what you're doing? No. But I have to have a love for humanity because that's what we all are. And this whole idea of talking about people, calling them animals and doing all these things to dehumanize people, can I tell you something? When you dehumanize people, it is only to set them up so you can kill them. Because it's very hard to kill another person. You see how he did it from long distance, the person that shot this young man, Charlie Kirk. They did it from long distance. Some of the crimes that people commit are very personal, like with a knife. That's very personal. You get right up on them. When things like that happen, you often hear the police say, "Oh, this was a crime of passion." But to get off at a distance and shoot someone, or to drop a bomb on someone, like Israel's doing in Gaza now? That's a whole nother story we're going to have to talk about. Yeah, you better come see me. We got so much to talk about. There's so many things going on in this world that I think we can just kind of reason together and see what we think about it. Thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe. Please leave your comments. Please share with your family and friends. Tell your mother, tell your auntie. Come see about me.